Polina. I want to thank you for inviting me to your country, and to thank you for inviting me to share with you how it is that we are dreaming difference and diversity in study abroad. A practical approach to global citizenship education. What is the context? The context is a study abroad program that is situated in the northeast region of Brazil that receives university students from the United States of America who come to work with Brazilian people to advance our understanding of social injustice in both countries and how we can work towards creating a more just and peaceful society. And so I want to share with you a visual presentation of some of the practical methodologies that we use related to encountering the other. Who is this other that we are talking about? They are the victims of historical and present-day social injustice in Brazil and the United States. Our focus is primarily on indigenous peoples, and it is important for you to know that in Brazil, as well as in the United States, the great majority of indigenous peoples during our colonial past were massacred. The great majority of these people were massacred, and their lands were taken from them. And upon their lands, we constructed the nations of the United States and Brazil. We want to focus upon the peoples of Africa who for 350 years were forcefully migrated. For 350 years, the youth of the African continent were forcefully removed and brought to Brazil and to United States to create those societies. The wealth of Brazil, the wealth of the United States was created on the backs of African peoples. We are focused on women who, as a result of our colonial history, have suffered tremendously under patriarchal systems. And we are focused on the legacy of a colonial system that left our countries with vast numbers of poor people. Our objective is to try to understand this history and their present struggle of these people from their perspective. Not only in the classroom, but by going to these communities, by being present with these people, by living with them and learning from them. And this is important because these people have been said to be people who have no culture. They have been said to be people who have nothing to teach. They have been said to be savages. We are attempting through these methodologies to undo from our lived experience many of the stereotypes, the attitudes, and preconceived notions we have learned and formulated about the other as a result of our colonial history. Brazil. Our work is concentrated in the blue region, the northeast of Brazil, primarily in the states of Ceará, Bahia, Pernambuco, and Maranhão. This area is twice the size of Western Europe. This area is extremely important because it is here that the colonial history of Brazil begins. Our program is focused on the themes of social justice and sustainable human relationships. University students, young men and women, like almost all of you, come to our program from the United States, and here we try to apply one of the first principles of difference and diversity. We try to ensure, to the extent possible, that the groups are composed of individuals of diverse ethnic groups from within the United States, from diverse socioeconomic groups within the United States, and diverse geographical areas of our country. This is important because with them they will bring a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience about life in the United States. Additionally, to the extent that we can guarantee this difference and this diversity within the group, we also bring to Brazil the social, political, economic conflicts that also exist between these ethnic and socio-economic groups in our country. And so the program brings the conflict. And in the process of studying with the Brazilians, we use that study to mirror our own reality. Second principle, these students are placed with families that are also chosen from different ethnic groups in Brazil and different socio-economic groups. Our goal then, we believe that a global citizenship education must be an instrument of critical reflection that allows us to confront and understand histories of domination and subjugation of the other, and how these histories shape present human relations, and how we are complicit in maintaining cultures of violence based on these histories, whose primary enemies have been difference and diversity. So we begin our process by confronting ourselves. How is it that we think? How is it that our ideas have been constructed? What are our attitudes about the other? And then from classroom, we move to these communities to consider how it is that we think about the other. In this case, indigenous peoples, hoping that our educational process will lead not only to knowledge, but also create a platform in which we can seek forgiveness for the wrongs that have occurred, that we can find reconciliation, and that we can create the context for new relationships. We consider the problems of slavery and the communities that survived that slavery and how they are trying to reconstruct their culture and their identity. Women, particularly black and indigenous women, who in our country are the victims of femicide. Each year, we assassinate thousands of women across the Americas. Visit into poor communities to consider how in our globalized society in which we create vast amounts of wealth, we continue to also create vast amount of poverty and misery. Landless people. Sorry I have to move through this so quickly. Children, the great victims of much of our social injustice are children. Rarely do they have the opportunity to voice their concerns, to share with us how it is that they are navigating and living poverty and misery. In addition to exploring this history and its impact, we are also asking our students to explore the very idea of the pluriversity. The pluriversity is that educational space where all people and all systems of knowledge are welcome. Very different from our current traditional universities. We are asking our students to think about different types of classrooms outside of the boxes and into the world, into the communities, amongst the people. And we are asking our students to think differently about who can teach. Not only the masters and the PhDs, but to consider the possibility of those that we have considered to be unworthy, inferior, that live on the margins, also may have something to teach us. I'm so sorry. Thank you very much.
Okay, so no reason for Bill to be sorry. He'll stay here for another 10 minutes and he'll be answering your questions. So as I said before, the floor is yours now. We have got 2 microphones with humans holding them, running around the room. Petja is over there and Daida is over there. When it comes to the questions, you can ask anything that the speaker was talking about, or things that he or she was not talking about, and you would like to hear about them anyway. You should know that there are very few native speakers of English in this room, so any English is alright. And if you want to speak in your mother tongue, you can do that, and I'm sure that some of your friends will help you to translate into English, because understanding and speaking might be 2 different things for you. But please, always, if you have a question, find a way to get it across. We'll help with that. So, who has got the first question of the evening? This is so exciting.
I have a question.
Yes.
There's a question over here. We're getting a microphone.
Bill, please.
When you ask a question, please say your name and where you're from.
Thank you. My name is Petra, I'm from the Czech Republic. And my question is, what the Brazilians think about these students?
Yeah, the Brazilians are partners with this educational process. Brazil is a very special place in terms of its people. And so there is a tremendous openness to exploring these ideas linked to social justice, because across the country there are many social movements, there are many community-based organizations, there are many NGOs that are working with these problems. And they are very open to sharing how it is that they're working on these problems, the nature of these problems, and introducing both Brazilians as well as individuals from other places, how it is that they are dealing with these realities. As a matter of fact, in addition to our considering the history and its impact on us and its impact on the local people, we are also very much interested in what we call social technologies. Social technologies are the methodologies that have been developed in these NGOs, in these community organizations, in these social movements that have been very effective in helping to restore the dignity of the human person, that have been very effective in terms of promoting inclusion, that have been very effective in helping to dismantle this colonial legacy of oppression. And so it is not only a Brazilian phenomenon. This is a phenomenon that exists across the Americas. It is a phenomenon that in fact exists across the world. And the people that work in this area are always very interested in collaborating with individuals and groups and movements across the world. There exist vast networks of interconnected movements, of interconnected entities that share their knowledge, that share their processes, that share their methodologies. So this is something that is innate and inherent, this need to share how it is we are attempting to dismantle these systems of domination and oppression worldwide.
Thank you.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you for the question. So we've got time for one more question from the audience, maybe two if we are quick enough.
Yes.
Very well, so there is one over there, and then we'll be coming over here. So again, please, your name, where you're from, and your question.
Hello, I'm Teresa Tomažić from Slovenia, and my question is, where did the idea for this project came from? How did you get involved?
Yes. This program actually is sponsored by a university in the United States that's called the School for International Training. It's a very interesting institution that is focused exclusively on social issues. And our programs exist in 50 countries around the world. And all of our programs are focused in the alternating formats of 25% or 30% university, PhDs, MA, 70% local people as teachers, community-based organizations, social movements, of living, studying with people, with social movements, with social organizations, in order to understand how it is across the world we are trying to deal with these massive problems that the human family faces. Our objective is to build amongst young people like yourselves a new vision, a new understanding, a new possibility in terms of human relationships. We reject the current order of global relations. And we believe it is absolutely necessary to dedicate our educational processes to helping young people to understand that what we have in terms of political, economic, and social and cultural organization globally is unsustainable. And if we cannot interest young people in promoting radical change, the world that we will hand to you, the world that our generation will hand to you, is up for extinction.
Okay, I think we need one more question because we need a positive ending then from Bill.
Hi.
So, go ahead, please.
My name is Hannah and I'm also Czech. I have a question about sustainability and in terms of, I assume the study abroad program doesn't last very long. And
4 months, 3.5 months.
And that's a pretty short time in terms of tackling big issues. So I was wondering, sort of, how do you work with groups after they leave Brazil, after they leave, and are you still in touch with them in terms of like how are they taking what they've learned and using it in their communities, because it's a big issue.
Yes, very good question. Obviously, we are unable to follow all of our students, but I have been working with this program now for 25 years. So I have some experience with many of our students who it becomes clear to us, and it is one of the reasons why I continue to be involved in this and why I think institutionally we continue to be dedicated to this process. We understand clearly that this methodology of education has very powerful impact in terms of transforming vision. Visions about oneself, vision about one's reason for being in the world, and most importantly, visions about why I am in the university, and transforming visions about what it is that I can and must do with my university education, to understand that education as a public good. And so we see many of our students make that dedication to the public good, to transformation, to a different type of society. And it is difficult, complex work. But then we try in ways not always successful to support them by linking them with organizations, linking them with other people in their countries who are already working on these issues and that they can become involved in. So also what's important is sometimes just the change that I make in my own life, the change that I make in my own mind, the change that I make in my own attitudes, the change that I make in my own behavior. And so we want to think about success from many different measures. So to answer your question, some of our students we are able to follow. I have had many of my students that I accompany through their masters, through their PhDs, through their professional lives. We need to do more of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.